Okay, so tell me what we've done here, Dave.
So this is the Cypher. It's aimed at being a sup surf, everyday surf, sup surf.
And why did we need to make another sup board?
I think me and a lot of other riders, we found that as our downwind boards went longer and longer and longer, we were using them in the surf because we wanted the crossover, and they were just a bit too long for the surf. It wasn't the best performance that you could get in the surf scenario. They were great for downwinding, and so me in particular, I was like, let's make a sup surf model that fits the gap between my 9-foot board and now sort of landing in the 7-foot range. And yeah, it's come out pretty epic.
And what do you think for the wingers? Do you think it's going to suit the guys wanting to grab a wing and get in the surf with it?
Yeah, I think light wind winging is still a big option for a lot of people, either in inland lakes, light winds through winter, and we've tried to make this something that's great on foil, and I think we've done that. It's performance-y enough that you can ride the way you want, but it's not impossible to use, but you're going to be able to get a 7-foot board up in super light winds.
Yeah.
10 knots with a big wing, and then something that you could also cross over and paddle and surf if you want. And for those of you that live in places like Wood River, you could even downwind some of the smaller boards.
Yeah. So this being the surf sup model, crossover wingboard, I suppose you could say, but we are also going to do a downwind version.
That's right.
Yeah. So you've been riding that.
Yeah, so we've got an 8'6" and an 8'10", 120 litres, 130 litres. And our discussion was pretty much, let's make sure that we make this for people learning or through to intermediate.
Yeah.
And then let's leave space for the bullet, which is really the more advanced, so intermediate to advanced range.
Yeah.
And learning on a bullet is not the easiest thing in the world. But learning on a Cypher, we decided to really make sure that we drill down on making it stable at rest and easy to paddle up. And the dimensions and the length, we went back and forth with Josh as well.
That's right, yeah.
Josh has been working with the Voyager guys, talking to a lot of learners. I talked to a lot of learners, and sort of what do we wish we had when we started.
Yeah.
And then we even ran a poll, and we had like 90 people vote, and they said, I asked people, if you're an advanced rider now, what do you wish you'd started on? And everyone was between 8'6" and 8'10". It was like 40%, 40%, and then everyone else was on the fringes. So
Yeah, and you guys learned that the hard way.
Oh yeah.
So we've really kicked off from where you guys started.
Yeah.
And that's basically the reason for the downwind version, isn't it?
Yeah, and we really want it to be people from 80 kilos can buy one model, and people from 80 kilos up can buy the other
next
model.
one.
It's really simple. And you're never going to have too much board when you're 2 kilometers out to sea and you can't paddle up. Like, that just doesn't happen. It's when you're learning, you need a board that's going to get you up and going. And then as you get better, you can just downsize your foil, and that board is still going to work for you. I did my fastest kilometer the other day on an 8'6" board, Cypher. So it's not that you're not going to outgrow it.
Yeah.
You're not within the first 2 years at least.
Yeah.
So
it's just going to make that process a little easier to get going.
So for you, scaling between the sup surf and the 8'6", what did you do anything? Did you change anything?
Between the sup surf and the downwind board, really the plan shape is very similar. We just stretched it out because I felt like we had a winner with this, didn't we? We didn't want to go too narrow due to keeping a bit of stability. But yeah, you've ridden it. It feels like a nicely balanced downwind board.
Yeah.
Like you said, stable when you're stationary or before you're moving, and it gives you the best chance to get going.
And we also because when you're learning to downwind, you don't really know where your foil should go. And so often people put the boxes too far back, and we've really made sure that the boxes are forward enough that whatever foil you're on, from go foil to lift or whatever you're on, that you're still going to be able to use the foil that you want. Because bigger foils tend to run further back, and then as you get better, you can move your mast further forward as your foils get more and more advanced. So the box range is epic. Like I'm at 2/3, but I'm riding 680R from Code, and that's as far forward as I'll probably ever go. So
yeah.
really happy with that.
Yeah. So we've made sure the range is there to accommodate as many foils on the market and riders as possible.
And I think some of Zane's feedback and mine as well from the Bullet was balancing out the foam from nose to tail, so that when you're on foil, it feels balanced. And you found that was pretty easy with this shape, or did you have any?
Yeah. We start with sort of the center point, right? So where the foam is based on the nose compared to the tail, and then we look at where that that comfortable standing point is, and make sure it's almost like a seesaw effect. We're just making sure everything's going to stay balanced when you're basically at ease riding, and that's what we're trying to achieve. So, like we spoke about last night, you found that was quite comfortable just standing while you were on a couple of nice bumps.
Sure. So I sent you like a little scribbly drawing. I remember.
Yeah.
I just took a photo of it, and I'm pretty amazed at how it's come out almost. It's not what that
what
looked
you
like,
envisioned.
but what you envisioned, and between your expertise and what I wanted, what Josh wanted, we've come up with something that works really, really well. And I'm sort of surprised still. I'm like, oh yeah, good. Like you're not surprised, but I'm surprised that the idea has come together and it works really well. So, can you talk through the shape?
Okay, so I guess the shape. One big point you made is you want it to have a real surfy feel, nose-wise.
Yep.
So I guess in comparison to some of our other boards, we definitely pulled that nose out into more of a surfboard style nose almost. We've definitely retained lots of volume up the front. We've run that through to a slightly concave but relatively flat deck all the way through for your feet. The tail we've kept a little wider, and there's a reason for that. That's to give you plenty of push from behind. It gives you plenty of stability there, plenty of room to move your feet. And I guess on the bottom of it, I should talk about the rails. The rails are quite full, square, all designed for stability, I guess there, isn't it? On the bottom, it's nothing dramatic in any sense that it's very flowing, smooth lines. Basically just designed to get you moving as fast as possible, but maintaining quite a bit of flat area. And that was one thing we spoke about, didn't we? That having a flat enough area to feel reasonably stable.
For sure.
Especially if you're at the starting point of downwinding.
And obviously the SUP surfboards, being shorter, they're more unstable naturally because they don't have the length. And that's part of the flat deck. That's why I want to be able to stand in the surf and not be falling off constantly.
Yeah. And I guess this tail kick is something that we haven't done as much as this in any of our SUPs. But as a surf SUP, you really want that clearance through turns and everything like that. So keeping it wide but having quite a bevel off the tail has worked quite well.
Because other boards that I've had, as you're lower on the mast, as you get tired, the tail can tap because it's not a particularly long board, but this big scoop means that the tail really has a lot of clearance. And I've found that it acts like a bit of a catch when the wave hits you. It's on the same angle as the wave as it hits you, and it really does give you a bit of a boost
in the right direction.
But also, it looks good. What do we call it? The fat bullet.
The fat bullet.
We were halfway through discussions, and I was like, it sounds like I'm describing just a really short fat bullet with a fat tail. In some ways, I think.
In some ways, we've almost compressed the bullet down to work.
Gave it a flat deck.
In the surf, gave it a flatter deck for a bit more stability.
Good job, Zane.
So it is, really, it is nothing new, but it's just a continuation on a design that we're learning along the way is working. And then we're applying it to the surf side of things, but also with the downwind version, maintaining it so it's user friendly. Is a big point of this board. That a lot of people are going to be able to jump on this one for the first time
Yeah. And I think that was one of the real main points that I kept reminding myself when I was giving you feedback was I shouldn't try to make a board that's just for me. I want to make a board that's for everybody. And your average foiler by statistics is like 44, not 30 with heaps of time on their hands, you know?
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that the board would work for your everyday weekend warrior. And that in particular for the downwind sub was a real priority. And but this board is, I would say the downwind sub is more for your learner, but still an intermediate can have a great time on it. Whereas this is this is for everybody. This is if you're already a great sub surfer, this is a good board for you. You just scale down dimensions potentially. Because I'm riding the 7.4 and that's 115 litres. So that's 5 or 10 litres less than I normally downwind on. And I'm finding that to be the perfect size.
Yeah. Then we have a size range in the size of that too. 95,
7.0.
and what do we go up to?
7.8.
7.8 at 125.
Yeah.
So
big boys, rejoice.
that's right.
So, yeah. Cool.